Hi, my name's Dylan. I'm a sports psychologist, and in this case study, our client is a 25-year-old female attempting to run their first sub 3 hour marathon. They have low levels of intrinsic motivation, which is due to the fact they are on the verge of burnout. This is due to the fact they are continually pushing themselves beyond their limits and capabilities. Um, Due to their high levels of introjected and identified regulation. As a consequence of this, they are attempting to continually strive for personal bests, and consequently, they have incurred several minor injuries during the course of their training. This has hindered their progress in training as they have had to take time to rest and recover. And I'll pass over to Jane to provide a provisional conceptualization.
Yeah, so I'm Jane and I'm an exercise physiologist. And it's clear that this client is used to high intensity training to improve her performance in soccer. However, modifying her training to be less intense and focus more on aerobic endurance will improve her performance for the marathon specifically. She set a specific goal to undertake a marathon in 6 months, but to improve her training, she could consider setting more open goals that aren't strict and specific, that are going to be more realistic to her physical capabilities, whilst also improving her psychological outcomes. An example of this could be rather than setting a specific pace, she could see how far she's going to run in a certain time. I think Ben has more to say on that.
Hi, my name's Ben. I'm an exercise physiologist, and just what I have to say is, so as we've seen, like she's got shin splints, so also adding in a variety as well of exercise, so not just her intensity of running, but also probably decreasing the running to help with that shin splint, but it'll also help with her fatigue and burnout. So I think with that, we could recommend that she does a bit more swimming, because then that takes stress off joints, but still she's improving her aerobic fitness, which will help her achieve her goals. And with that running, it was said that it was kind of used as a punishment when she was doing that soccer training. So by kind of getting that out of her head, swimming can kind of be a way out of that negative mentality as well. So that'll also help her reach her goals with that. But also having a proper footwear for her with that shin splints, because shin splints is a major thing with runners. So you want to make sure that they've got proper footwear and all that kind of stuff, to ensure that they're not getting worse or they're sticking around. And with that change in training, you also want to make sure that she's could also be going to a dietitian or nutritionist, just to make sure she's eating the right amounts and right type of foods, to make sure recovery is going good and getting enough protein, carbohydrates, that kind of stuff, to aid in her recovery. And I think Georgia has a bit more about this as well.
Yep. So my name's Georgia. I'm a sports psychologist, and the client's experiencing burnout, which can be attributed to her high levels of introjected and identified regulation, as well as her low levels of intrinsic motivation. So the client's motivation to run is driven mostly by external pressures, particularly her need to impress others and meet societal standards of success, which she mentions in her desire to perform well on Strava. The external validation has become a bit of a driving force behind her training, which is leading her to push herself relentlessly to burnout. The client's goal of running a sub 3 hour marathon based on societal norms of what constitutes a good time reflects her adherence to external standards rather than a genuine personal desire to run. These high levels of introjected and identified regulation, coupled with low intrinsic motivation, creates a bit of a precarious balance where the client feels compelled to meet external expectations while lacking the internal drive and enjoyment necessary to sustain her efforts. And as a result, she experiences emotional and physical exhaustion, which is leading to burnout. So the discrepancy between her external goals and her current performance levels can exacerbate these feelings of inadequacy and failure, perpetuating this cycle of burnout. To address this, we can emphasize a shift on the client's motivation from external validation to intrinsic satisfaction and enjoyment in running, By helping her reconnect with the aspects of running that bring her joy and fulfillment, we can cultivate a more sustainable and fulfilling approach to training that minimizes this risk of burnout. So additionally, setting realistic goals based on her current capabilities and fostering a supportive training environment can help alleviate the pressure she feels and promote a bit of a healthier relationship with running.
The client has a negative attitude towards running, which was a similarity in both of our conceptualizations. This has clearly led to the client burning out because of her high levels of introjected and identified regulation. Due to this, it could be ideal for the client to consider different goal setting opportunities.
Yeah, that's what we thought. So she has utilized a very specific goal to do the marathon, but for someone who may not have as much experience just solely doing running, she might want to consider some short-term goals and just some open goals to keep her motivated to keep going, because it's quite hard to have one goal and then know exactly what to do from there. But by setting smaller goals, she'll have things to work towards throughout her journey.
Yeah, with that, having those like smaller goals to reach, that can kind of play into some progressive overload. So like each month you slowly increase the distance she could be running or even swimming just to take some stress off her joints off that running. But yeah, I think having some progressive overload, just having that slow increase in intensity and distance and duration, I think that'll play a part in just helping her reach that one main goal, but then having those little goals through that progressive overload strategy.
Open goals would definitely help to improve her intrinsic motivation. Another way we could help tackle those high levels of introjected and identified regulation is through positive reinforcement. So celebrating those small achievements can help the client's focus shift from those external markers of success to more internal. So focusing on personal milestones rather than race times might encourage her to celebrate these progresses, no matter how small they are, and help her intrinsic motivation and self-worth. We might also be able to help her focus on mindfulness, so enjoying those runs a little bit more by getting her to focus on the sights around her, the sounds, and being present in the moment rather than her hating the run the whole time.
Yeah, I think with all that being said, her psychology needs to be prioritized over the physiology side, just because if you don't want to run, like no matter how much training you do, if you don't want to do it, then it's not going to work out like in the long term.
Yeah, and it'll end up having like a reverse effect. Like no matter how much she trains, if her mentality isn't good, it'll just have a reverse effect, and there won't be much physiological change for her to be able to like move on and progress through her training.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, are we all in agreement that burnout is the primary issue that needs to be addressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here there are multiple physiological and psychological factors that need to be improved to avoid burnout completely for our client, which would help her with her marathon training and ultimately improve her performance. I'll pass off to Jane.
Yeah, so I think the first plan would be probably getting her away from running. If she has all this built up negative thoughts around the idea of running, then she needs to do something different. Things such as swimming would also stop her getting shin splints, and so she would be able to get continuous exercise, and it is a form of aerobic endurance. So she'd still be improving that, just to also improve her intrinsic motivation, so she's doing something she actually wants to do.
Yeah, we can also improve that intrinsic motivation by using positive reinforcement techniques, specifically recognition of her progress, providing very specific and genuine praise for her progress and improvements, because she is new to running. So highlight areas where she's grown in either endurance or her running form or her resilience. On top of that, we can employ some mindfulness techniques to help with her self-compassion, as she's very hard on herself. So cultivating a more compassionate and accepting attitude towards herself and her running journey may be a positive for her.
Yeah, just another thing with probably starting up some weekly meetings as well. I think that would be really good. But if she's using Strava, we can check her Strava, make sure she's not pushing herself too hard and getting to that burnout stage. So we can kind of advise her, like, you are overdoing it a little bit, pull it back a bit. But also with that, we can also check on her motivation, see what the previous week was like. If it was too hard, too easy, like from there we can make progressive changes. And that overall will just help her training reach that main goal that she wants to achieve.